So, we're at LCS Finals on the final day with Cloud9 and NRG set to play in, I think 30 minutes, but I got done with a press conference that included League of Legends leadership here in North America, Riot leadership, and as well as some of the team owners, including Jack, Steve, Andy Miller from NRG, and Skystones from the NACL. And I just want to kind of go over this meeting. You can watch the full video if you want. It'll probably be like an hour and a half long. I'm sure Travis or somebody else will have it up. I'll link it down in the description below. But if you just want the TLDR and the recaps and my thoughts on it, this is that video. The first two people to speak were the LCS events lead and somebody with Prudential Center. They basically just kind of recapped the event here. The highlight was that I think they said like 15,000 people are going to be coming in for finals this weekend, which is a very good number. It should solidify for some people. It's like, yes, people still travel for LCS, but there will still always be fans at these events, still stuff going on at all times. Like, clearly, you know, as much as viewership might dwindle, there's still thousands, tens of thousands of fans that literally are traveling for this event, which is a good thing, but no other real highlights from them. That kind of was what it was. Second was the man that's going to be performing in the opening ceremony later, Dutmos. For those of you that don't remember who he was Echo in True Damage whenever it was performed at the Accors Hotel Arena out in Paris for the World's Finals in 2019, and now he's back performing whatever song he's going to do now, which I think you might be able to see. I'm not going to adjust the camera, but they're setting up for the opening ceremony down there with like fans kind of crowding the tunnel as it's going to come out. I'm curious to see what it will actually look like. I found it interesting he does not play League of Legends. Like, a lot of people that get involved with these league projects don't, so not a surprise, but he still did some voiceover stuff for Echo, so that's still really cool regardless. If you don't know, he also, I think, his song Run Wild was also in FIFA like 2018, I think. He said that he loved the hotel room from Worlds 2019. Whatever Riot did, apparently they decked them all out. And the one question I asked him is, like, if you could rap over, like, if you could freestyle over any modern song, what would it be? Because if you don't know, he kind of came up, one of his breakthrough things was when he freestyled over Kendrick Lamar's Humble. And he really said that no other song, at least recently, has kind of stood the test of time to Humble. So didn't really give much of an answer there, but hey, it is what it is. Although he did say his favorite Weekend album is Beauty Behind the Madness. I don't know if you can hear that roar, but Cloud9 players are coming on stage for their tech test right now. But yeah, his favorite Weekend album was Beauty Behind the Madness. His low-key favorite, though, that he kind of hinted towards, that might be a little bit not as much of a PR answer, was House of Balloons, the Weeknd's original first mixtape of like the trilogy era. But yeah. Now we get into the important stuff with Raul, who is the head of esports operations in all of the Americas, which for those that don't know, Riot just recently combined it, so like North America, South America, Latin America are all now one region, and the people that are overseeing it are all together. As well as Carlos, who's specifically head of LoL Esports in the Americas. The first thing that they obviously referenced was the fact that they're hiring an LCS commissioner, and I think it was Robert in the press who asked about like what they're looking for within this role, and basically, you know, they rehashed the job requirements. They started with like a 15 or 20 minute opening statement, just talking about like the state of the LCS right now. They acknowledge that things are kind of dry right now, but tried to like go on and say like, yeah, we're getting more like we're still having conversations with advertisers that are looking to come in, and we're past the worst part. I don't know how to say this without just being blunt, but their whole section was just a corporate PR speak, and it felt like there was not need for a press conference like this. For example, one of the first questions that was asked was by Arsh, and he asked about the declining viewership and weekdays versus weekends, and they literally punted it. They didn't say anything about it. They just were like, nah, you know, basically this event wraps up our 2023 season, and then we'll start discussions on next year whenever it comes time, like after the finals, and we can sit there and like recalibrate and look at the data. And it's like, bro, what data are you going to be looking at? It's fairly obvious that you should be back on weekends. But that point aside, their statement doesn't make sense, because then when talking about next year for ad sales and for other like positive aspects, they would reference it, that it's in like a decent point, and they wouldn't like give specifics, but they would at least kind of give like these subtle hints of like, hey, we're doing fine, we're doing this. But for something as obvious as viewership, which is in the gutter right now, they didn't say a word, and it's like, oh, come on, really? So then I got the chance to ask, and my question was about, why don't we have more LCS events across the United States? 75% of the population is on the East Coast, or like west of Texas, not just the East Coast, but like the eastern part of the US. And we only ever go out twice a year. So Call of Duty goes out 5 or 6 times a year, and when they go out, all of their events include all of the teams. So you know the players that are there, you can help build brand value, you can help do a lot of other things that kind of help drive value. For League, we have 2 events in like summer finals today. There's only 2 teams out there, and the other teams, like, sure, they might bring some players out, but like it's different because when you go to meet these teams and meet these players, it's like, okay, you don't even know if they're going to be on this team next year, so it's not the same. So I wanted to know, what are our plans to like get more people out and about in the LCS, have more road shows? Like, is there consideration of having more? And once again, punted. We haven't thought about next year. It's like, oh, you haven't thought about next year, so it's not going to happen, because you would need to like start having these details in line if you're going to make it happen. On top of that, they specifically did shut down the fact that no, we are not interested in having more LCS events or traveling more than just twice a year for or what they do now. They're just focused on having the best events, which, sure, I get that, but you can do both in tandem. The only positive part of that specific portion of the conversation was that we got word of the LCS looking to do potential fan fests in different cities and different parts of the country while still having the LCS out in LA, which I actually think is a brilliant idea. I want you to have official LCS watch parties and fan fests on a consistent basis, whether that's every other week or every 3 weeks, does not matter. You need to have something that's getting fans out and about. This will be related to the owner part a little bit later, but it's like, you are more likely to convert a long-term fan if they're out here in the stadium or out at one of the fan fests than you are if they're just watching online. It's like, But yeah, besides that, I mean, there were other questions asked, but I'm not gonna lie, they punted pretty much everything. So there really wasn't much of a point of them saying anything. We just gotta wait for like the full announcements to come later. The final part of this press conference had 4 owners. It had Cloud9's owner Jack, Team Liquid's owner Steve, NRG's owner Andy Miller, and Disguised Toast, who owns Disguised Toast. Travis's first question was very entertaining. He was asking about the recent article that came out with like Toast shitting on the LCS org for like content and all this, and it was really good because you had like all 4 of them up there to kind of debate it, and Steve made note of like, you know, some players don't want to play next split, so you can't always retain the same roster, and also cookie cutter content. Like he really tried to hone in on the fact that team fandom is difficult to build because 2 of the 3 pillars, which is fans becoming a fan of that organization because their parents were involved and kind of like had this friend or person in their life to kind of help usher them in, doesn't fully exist within League of Legends, at least to the same scale of other sports. And second is that you don't have these in-person elements of like geolocated teams to be able to pull from, or like something that you can just blindly support and trust and listen to. And it's like, yeah, that's what I tried to ask Global Bull about. Like, why aren't we going to more spots? Why aren't teams doing more in these areas? Which, again, their FanFest answer will help, but it's like, you're missing the 2 most important things to driving long-term fandom there that you're not getting with the LCS, and nobody's doing them, barring these 2 shows. So it's like, you gotta change up something. Jack also gave a very good answer to this question in regards to, we've been too focused on competition. Like, yes, competition is obviously important, but we're also not going to be competitive on the world stage. So like building up this narrative of like winning the LCS means literally everything, and that any team that doesn't win, like there's no storyline to be had there because you didn't win. Like, that's problematic. You need to be entertainers. You need to have some sort of other storyline to be able to go on and get people involved and like get them interested in this product as a whole. There were a few other questions to the owners that you can go watch the video. I don't really think there's like anything too notable, at least if, in my opinion, of the reaction to everything that happened. There was a question about like financial stability, and it's like, obviously everybody's going to cut costs. Owner said that, you know, we're still in the early stages of esports, which is very fair. We are a very young industry, but we're just going to cut costs, cut salaries, like, to be able to maintain ourselves. So really nothing to note there too much. Steve made a comment on NACL, just reiterating his comments that he's already made about how he doesn't think it's sustainable in its current form. He doesn't think it's, you know, good in its current form. Changes need to come. And that's really it. I mean, honestly, like, I don't think this press conference was really all that great, but I feel like that's the nature of press conferences lately in these environments. I'm really interested to see how Travis's interview with Nas and John comes out, because it's like, being here at LCS Finals, I've had the chance to have one-on-one conversations with people. I got the chance to meet Andy Miller earlier and like just briefly talk with him and like the people that he was around, but like not talk about like this and everything going on like I would want to. There's actually an NRG chant breaking out right now, which is great. I don't know. My experience from these events, coming to finals, going to worlds, etc., I learn more and have more engaging one-on-one conversations with people that can go so much further, because I can follow up on a point or a comment that somebody makes in their statement, whereas like in these press interviews, like it feels like everybody has their own their own question and agenda. It doesn't necessarily follow up on somebody else's point, which I think would be like something that I would like to see the media do more in these. Like turn it more into a conversation and like dissect some of these points and disagree with them whenever there is room to disagree. But it just, I don't know. It didn't feel like we got anywhere in that in that press conference. That like you give me a one-on-one conversation with any of these owners for 10 minutes, and I feel like I would learn more. I would understand more, which is like part of being media at these events, and part of me doing content creation is like I'm trying to relate to you information as well, so that you can better understand things that I might know or I might learn here, especially when it comes to like a financial point of view. Like the financial question, I get why it was asked, but like at the same time, like for me at least, it's like it's very obvious what the answer is going to be. I guess some people want to hear that, but like, so I think now's the right time to cut in and say, after game 2 of LCS Finals, I was pulled aside and was able to have a one-on-one conversation with Raul, again, the guy that oversees all esports in the Americas, not just League of Legends. And right as we started to get into like talking about the question that I asked at the press conference and like starting to dive in more about that type of stuff, other people came up. It only felt appropriate to like introduce them to Raul. I didn't want to like hog him all to myself, nor like continue what was like going to probably be like a one-on-one conversation with other people and other groups around. So unfortunately, I didn't really get to have anything there. My conversation with him prior to that was more about like, he was asking about my content, and like apparently like people at Riot are like familiar with the videos I do and the stuff that I put out. So like I don't want to talk about what happened to that or happened prior to that point, because it'd be just braggadocious. I don't like doing that. I appreciate the compliments from all of them and talk about like how I make content and everything, but this isn't the right place to do here. So cut back to the video now. Just wanted to let you know I did have a conversation, but there wasn't really much that I can share about that, because nothing really of note came up that like pressed the issue. Nevertheless, that's pretty much it for this. I just want to see whatever comes out from the other interviews, because right now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm still worried about what the LCS is gonna look like next year. While yes, there are a lot of fans in this arena, and I think it appears as though there's more fans than spring finals, I'm still worried about the online viewership, which barely beat the freaking arena, or like the LCS arena numbers. Like it wasn't even that high of a spike for finals. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how today goes, but only time will tell. Anyways, I'll catch you all in the next video. I got an interesting 100 Thieves video coming that my 100 Thieves fans might like. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.